Good morning, brothers and sisters. You know, it's great to be here with some great musicians, members of the American Federation of Musicians of the United States and Canada. We are the largest labor union. We are the largest labor union in the world representing professional musicians. And from the very first day that a motion picture flickered to life on the screen in a silent movie theater, people fell in love with the movies. And they also fell in love with the musicians who accompanied them. As musicians, we've been doing that. We've been accompanying the movies, from the silent films to the talkies to CinemaScope to Technicolor to 3D to THX to IMAX and everywhere else. From Hollywood to Dollywood, from Austin to Atlanta, from New York to Chicago to LA. And we've been doing that for more than 100 years. People who love the movies know that musicians are the heart and soul of the film. We grew up in the movie industry, in the silent era. But now, more than a century later, we find ourselves inside of another silent era. The musicians who are with me today, and thousands more like them throughout the U.S. and Canada, have been silenced. Over the last decade, musical employment in TV and films has dropped dramatically. That's why we speak out today. In Los Angeles, also in Atlanta, also in New York City, and all over the country. We call this the Listen Up campaign. And you know, we're not alone. I want to thank our brothers and sisters from the IA, from SAG-AFTRA, from AFL-CIO, the LA Central Labor, this morning to talk about our jobs as recording musicians for motion picture films and also for films for television. Jobs that had disappeared because the rich film companies have shoved us back into the silent era. So where have the jobs gone? The multi-billion-dollar film and TV studios, the producers and their decision makers, they're outsourcing and offshoring their post-production work, their film scores, the recording of their movie contract, of their movie soundtracks, to the tune of millions upon millions of dollars picked from the pockets of taxpayers and from the pockets of professional musicians. That's what they've been doing. And we're here to say, listen up, Lionsgate. Here to tell you to listen up. That money should be flowing into our pockets, not out and not across the ocean. We need that money for our economies. We need that money to support our citizens, to feed our families, and not for it to run off to foreign countries. Now, if that's not bad enough, U.S. taxpayers, again, I'm telling you, are footing the bill for all of this offshore, for the subsidizing of the motion pictures. Last year, the motion picture studios took $1.5 billion in tax credits. And then when you begin to understand that moviegoers themselves are taxpayers, we fund the production of the film itself, and we're paying higher and higher ticket prices at the box office. And tomorrow, Lionsgate's new movie Draft Day opens here, and it opens in theaters across the country, across Canada. And for this film, Lionsgate took $5 million in public funds from Ohio. Ohio taxpayers put in $5 million on that film, and they sent the music to be scored in Europe, in Macedonia. Macedonia, recipients of $5 million of public funds. But you know, this seems to be business as usual for Lionsgate. Since 2011, they've taken film soundtrack recording overseas 20 times, but they've only scored in this country 4 times. I want to tell you about the Twilight trilogy. A big Lionsgate franchise. I want to tell you about the Twilight trilogy. I want to tell you about Hunger Games. There's a uniquely American movie, Hunger Games, set in in Appalachia in the future, made with millions and millions of dollars in tax money that's stored overseas. You take Twilight and you take that first Hunger Games, and that represents $10 million worth of lost wages, lost to offshore, lost pension contributions, lost health benefits. That's $10 million that will be working to improve the local economy, working to improve the lives of people in our nation, paying state and federal taxes, Medicare and Social Security. Can our nation, can our communities, can you and I or any other taxpayer lay still and watch $10 million of our taxpayer money fly away and float off across the sea, lost forever? Brothers and sisters, I say no. I say no to that. And you know what I say? I say, listen up, Lionsgate. 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 I say, listen up, Lionsgate. Listen up, baby. You know, Lionsgate is one of the most successful film and TV studios in the world. They experienced revenue of $2.7 billion last year. And they treat all the folks that work on their movies, all the way up and down the line, with fairness. All except for musicians. All except for us. All except for those who bring joy to the world and who are the heart and soul of the film. And so today, 80,000 musicians, 80,000 musicians of the American Federation of Musicians, the United States of Canada, and our allies across the country, we are all standing together. Woo! And we say to Lionsgate, you know what we say to Lionsgate, don't you? Let's hear it one more time. Listen up, Lionsgate! Listen up, Lionsgate! Listen up, Lionsgate! Listen up! Listen up, Lionsgate. Because you know, if you want to look like an industry leader, Lionsgate, you ought to act like it. You ought to treat musicians by the standards we've achieved with the other industry leaders that we've established through constructive industry-wide agreements. You need to quit offshoring your work to Macedonia. You need to quit offshoring your work out to Poland. And you need to quit offshoring and outsourcing your work out to London and the UK and everywhere else you're doing. You need to keep the taxpayer money you're taking to make these movies, you need to keep it right here in the good old USA and Canada. That's what you ought to be doing. You need to keep the jobs of professional musicians in our communities, and you need to give us the respect that we deserve, and you need to preserve our contributions to this nation and to the world. You know, it wasn't just to this nation that we've made these contributions. We have contributed our talent to the entire world. And Lionsgate, I'm going to tell you one last time, you need to do this on behalf of our nation and on behalf of our cultural heritage. Lionsgate! Listen up! Lionsgate! Listen up! Lionsgate! Listen up! Yeah, you better hear us, Lionsgate. Thank y'all, ladies and gentlemen.